so everyone can just.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we are recording. Good? Yes. Okay. Welcome to It's Not Great Profit or Happy Clients, it's both. And I'm so excited to be here with the Designers Collaborative. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me. So I would love if you can tell me, I want you to think this through, how would your business transform if you had unending kind whales just begging to work with you? And in case kind whales is very confusing to you, I call my ideal clients kind whales. And the reason I call them kind whales is because after about 20 years in business, I am no longer accepting not nice humans into my world in any way, shape, or form, and certainly not when it comes to clients. So kind is absolutely number one. And then whales is super important for me. I did the deep work of really trying to understand my ideal client. And for me, my ideal client is great, big, beautiful projects. So fewer, larger projects is really my jam. Your ideal client might be silly, I don't know, minnows, whatever. You have to figure out who your ideal client is. Do that deep work, do that research, really sit with like, who do I want to work with? Where do I want to work? What kind of people? And then if I were you, I would give them a catchy little nickname so that they are always top of mind in your firm. Okay. So I'm going to repeat my question now that it makes more sense, because you know that my ideal clients are kind whales. How would your business transform if you had an unending line of your ideal client just begging to work with you? It'd be good, right? Yeah, it would. Okay, my goal today is to show you why it's important to make the shift from overworked and underappreciated to hand selecting your clients, skyrocketing your profits and your joy, all while still having a life. And that's what Heather was saying during the introduction. It's not just about profit at the expense of, not having a life, no balance, not being able to spend time with friends and family and your health and all those things, right? And it's not joy at the expense of profits. So we really need all three. We need really good profits. This is a business. We need joy. We need it to keep our creative spark going. The reason you went into business for yourself is because you love creativity. You love design. You love all, transforming homes, going to markets, shopping, whatever that is for you. That's that spark of creative joy. And as an industry, we're lucky that we have that's what binds us together. And so please don't run your own business so hard that you lose your joy, right? Okay, I'm going to keep on going. We got lots to cover. So today I'm going to share my key pricing strategies with you. I'm going to show you the strategy in action with some examples. I'm going to share how we can work together to help you catapult ahead in your journey. And we're going to spend the rest of our time today workshopping your businesses. So I would love it if you can drop your questions into the chat if that function is set up. And if not, jot them down because we are definitely going to cover them at the end. Before we dig in, I'm going to share a quick win, a great little takeaway that will help transform your business. It's my method to immediately increase your kind whale close rate, so your ideal potential clients. This is my little trick to help you land those ideal clients better, faster, more regularly as you desire. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to create a potential client presentation. Here's my presentation off to the right there. These are my portfolio images along with the House of Funk experience. So this is what this is going to do. We're going to communicate the design agreement details in this presentation. So we all know we hand our design agreement off to the client and we hope they read it. And we all can agree, I think, that the only ones who actually read it are the lawyers. And then you have to ask yourself, do lawyers fit into your kind whale category or not? You do you. But what's really important is when you do have a wonderful agreement and you do have a great process, you really do want them to read it, but they're not going to. So this presentation walks them through the boundaries and expectations of working with your firm, all the really important things that you need to know inside of that design agreement. In addition, creating a potential client presentation, kind of a sales presentation, it really outlines your client's future experience, right, as your client. So the whole presentation, you're telling them, and then I'm going to come to your house, and then I'm going to present the design concept to you, and then you're going to approve the budget, right? You're walking them through, and what you're doing is you're future pacing what it's going to be like for them to work with you. So at the end of your presentation, when you're asking for the sale, you're asking for them to hire you, they've already been in the mindset of being your client. So you are future pacing them, and you are going to get closer to a yes when you set up a program like this. So here's how you're going to do this. First, set yourself up, pour a cup of coffee, tea, whatever your jam is, put on some tunes. I like Baroque music for focused work. Grab paper, pen, notebook, whatever, laptop, whatever it is that you use to brainstorm, and get out a copy of that design agreement. Now you're going to get into brainstorm mode. Map out the phases of your process. So important to let these potential clients know that you have a process that's really clearly defined, and then also walk them through the journey of what it's going to be like to work with you. Again, they are envisioning working with you. So when you get to that, will you sign here? It's like you're closer to the yes. Add the most important information from your design agreement. Like I said, boundaries and expectations. So for me, everyone gets one round of revision for conceptual design and detailed design, right? That's a boundary. Expectations. How long this is going to take, how much this is going to cost, right? Setting boundaries and expectations makes for great clients. So amazing when you bring all this together and you make it beautiful and you walk them through it. You use your words, you use a presentation where they can read the words if there's someone who needs to read it, right? They're going to hear it, they're going to talk it through, and you're going to make eye contact with them the whole way through. You are building so much trust when you really talk all of these important nitty-gritty details through with a potential client. And then you're going to make it pretty because you're a designer and that's what you do. So again, create a slideshow in your favorite way that you do that, and merge your killer portfolio with exactly what it's like to work with them, work with you, with them. Okay, so again, why does this work? You're showing your process instills trust. They are visualizing their new reality of working with you. And the best part of this truly is that once they are your client, you know that they have the details down. They are a dream because they know the expectations and they know the boundaries. Yeah? Does that sound good, you guys? Awesome. All right, I'm going to give you a tiny bit about me. I know Heather did that amazing intro. Thank you. But I'm going to give you a little bit more about why it's important. I have a business background. I started out with a finance degree, worked in business process consulting for Accenture, one of the big 5 consulting firms of the day, and was bored stiff. I started taking design classes at Parsons at night. I was living in New York City and fell in love with interior design, like straight down the rabbit hole. So I went to design in about 2001 and worked for a few people, worked around the industry, and started my own firm, House of Funk, in 2005. I'm honored to be featured in national publications like AD Pro and Elle Decor, and have had just a wonderful career. But I couldn't do any of that without my darling family. Pictures of my 2 girls, my silly dog, and my husband, Jay. So a little shout out to the fam. Like I said, it's all about balance, right? Being able to go to where London is the top picture, Italy is the bottom, and then we're there on the porch swing where we live south of Nashville. So balance is so important to me. And today, what I'm really focused on is sharing all the lessons and how I grew my business at national design events and workshops just like this one today. And you'll find me empowering and educating design entrepreneurs with my proven process, the Interior Design Standard. And that group photo there is at High Point. It's all standard members. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. So tell me in the chat, please, which one of these sounds like you? Are you a 1? You're ready to shift from taking on all the projects to only working with your ideal clients. Wouldn't that be a dream? Or are you a 2? You're looking to switch from the hustle, hustle, hustle to working smarter and making more money, right? Balance, profits, and joy, all of it. Or are you a 3? You're ready to stop wondering if you're doing it right to having unwavering certainty in all of the processes and all of the pricing and all of the things. Whatever your motivation, if you're a 1, a 2, or a 3, I totally feel you. I was all 3. I have been there and done that, let me tell you. All right, let's dig into pricing, shall we? So, rock solid pricing. This is what I like to call my current pricing strategy, and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. But first, I'm going to tell you about little Sandra. This is me way back. This is probably 04, maybe. I hated talking the numbers. I was of that kind of like, let me just slide the numbers across the table and hope the client just thought that was totally amazing and signed on the dotted line. Like, not good. I wasn't confident in my pricing. Again, probably why I wasn't like speaking it out and looking them in the eye about it, because I wasn't really sure if it was right. I found myself negotiating and second guessing everything. Like, if I could crowdsource my pricing, I would. Like, if I was like, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? Like, begging people to please weigh in, like people that had no idea what I offer or how much time I spent on anything, right? My clients found my pricing vague. That is like a knife to the heart. When your client doesn't, like, it's too complicated or too convoluted or too murky, that why would they sign on if they can't simply and completely understand my pricing? They are not going to sign on the dotted line to, like, hopefully be able to afford what I'm doing, right? And I was working my booty off and I did not have much to show for it. I had a whole bunch of money coming into my firm and a whole bunch of money going out. And it didn't feel like a whole lot of it was left for me. So we changed all that. So early in my career, I had one of these great big bougie high-end clients, totally incredible, like pinching myself. And we were on our second project together. And he says to me, I don't want to be nickeled and dimed. And I was like, oh, punch to the gut. Like, have I been nickel and diming you? Is that what this is? Like, oh my gosh. And the bottom line is, this client had worked with me before, appreciated my aesthetic, appreciated the like ability to get it all the way through to done. He was here for another round, but he was telling me he did not like my pricing. He could 100% afford my crazy big dream budgets, my all the things. Like, he could handle it. He was this big whale client, but what he didn't like was the way that I kept invoicing him. I was at the time charging hourly. I was doing the work and then sending an invoice, money due, right? So I was sending invoices every 2 weeks. This is like I said, a great big luxury client. He had 5 homes. He had a great big job. He had adult children that were living all over the country, going to school and this and that, and, having their lives. They were always on the move. So I was always stopping his project because he owed me money, but he was not getting his invoices, or he was busy traveling, or he was in a different time zone. And it wasn't like he didn't have the money. It was like, it was too annoying the way that I was invoicing him, right? He just said to me, I want to know what it's going to cost up front. I want to write you one check, and I want you to take the keys to the apartment and get her done, right? This was a big light bulb moment. This is someone who maybe didn't fit in the kind category as much, but this was a great big whale who was telling me like it is. I didn't like how he said it with the nickel and diming, but I got the message loud and clear. If I wanted to work in the luxury market, I needed to make some changes. So, strategy: price your projects before you design anything. And that's really what this client was asking for. Just tell me what it's going to cost and I'll write you the check and you go and you do it, right? There are also a lot of clients that don't know what it's going to cost and can't afford it. And then you're into a project 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, and they've run out of money. This is equally bad, right? Please give me a thumbs up in the chat if you've ever been there. So here's how you are going to create rock solid pricing. Analyze your past project data to determine the fees for a project of a similar size and scope. So I created a calculator to do this for me in minutes, right? So I went back to my past data and I looked at my build projects, right? I lumped them all together and I analyzed how they threaded together. How much time had those taken me? What kind of budget did I need for those projects? What kind of design fee? And then I looked at my renovations, and then I looked at my furnish, my design only, right? And then I looked at my online design. Like I looked at all the different segments of the kind of work that I do, and I started to see the trends, and I started to be able, by analyzing that past data, I'm able to calculate what my fees and my budget and my taxes and my freight should be going forward. And this, my friends, is amazing for the luxury, amazing, incredible clients who just want to cut you a check and let you do it. Yay. And it's really, really important for the ones who actually can't afford you to find that out up front. Okay, this allows you to provide the full project estimate up front, design fee, furnishing budget, build or reno estimate from the general contractor. I always fold that in because, again, if we're double checking that they can afford it, I need a ballpark. Give me the high level number, right? I need a number on labor, and then of course, tax and freight. I have learned that lesson personally. I had a multiple six-figure project where I did not include the tax and freight in that initial conversation. And then for some reason, this client felt it was like shady that there was a very, it was a 5-figure tax and freight invoice, obviously, that went with everything. But it's really important for transparency and for trust to build the whole thing in together, okay? Whole thing. All right, now when you do that, when you give them the full picture of what this is really going to take financially up front, it's like flying first class, right? First class is not inexpensive. First class is also way better than coach, right? Recently took a flight with my husband and kids. We were, I don't even know where we went. Oh, we went down to the Bahamas for winter break. It was a very nice little warm weather break. And we were in coach all the way in the back, literally in those last seats right up against the bathroom that don't even recline. And I'm looking at my husband like, what? We bought these tickets a long time ago. You couldn't have like picked better seats. Like, my point is, people, I'd rather be in first class, but I'm not always there. But when you fly first class, you price in every little thing, right? Everything is in there. So you get on the plane. Number one, you're at the club before they board. You get on the plane. They're like whipping out drinks. They're asking you if you want a blankie. Did you get some lip balm, right? You feel like you're just being treated like a princess, but the truth is you paid for that. It was all included in that great big huge number to fly first class, right? But when we do this as a business, when we build in the full pricing up front, we can go ahead and build in surprise and delight. We can build in a little budget to photograph at the end of the job. We can build in a little budget to send flowers twice per job, right? We can build in a little budget to make sure that every time we meet with that client, we have their favorite coffee or their favorite cocktail if it's an evening meeting, right? When you do upfront pricing, build in not just tax and freight and the GC's labor, but build in special, build in surprise and delight, okay? This creates a truly memorable client experience. So when you do get that client and you get to just shower them with all the wonderful details and really bringing that customer service level up, and surprise and delight, surprise and delight, surprise and delight. I can't say it enough. They start telling their friends, right? They take a picture and they post it on their Instagram. They are talking to their best friend and they're like, my designer just sent me Valentine's Day flowers. Like, how sweet is that, right? Just be as unique as you can with those little special nuances, because it really goes a very long way to having that kind whale tell their kind whale friends. And it really does start to build into this incredible referral network of people that have heard about just how incredible your experience is working with your firm. All right, I'm going to tell you a bit about Danielle. She went from avoidance to abundance. So Danielle started her own business in 2021. She landed some wonderful projects and was feeling confident in her design skills. This was the design firm she dreamed of, except Danielle was having a hard time discussing the numbers. Been there? She tried to avoid the topic of budgets altogether. Well, we all know what happens when we avoid something, right? When we avoid it, it blows up in our face every time. So when it was time to purchase, clients were picking her designs apart, asking to see the line item cost to find ways to cut, right? Been there? Without an initial budget discussion up front, she'd get to the middle of the project and find that the clients really couldn't afford the design. So Danielle went looking for help. Danielle used rock solid pricing to transform her business with all the numbers in her business. She transformed the relationship with all the numbers in her business. Using her historical data, she used the pricing calculator to more than double her furnishings budget with her next client. So she was going into her next client meeting or next client proposal, and she had this little budget picked out, this like pulled it out of the sky little budget, what she thought this project should cost approximately, right? Then we worked together and we really got down to the details. We went back to her past data. We figured out what she'd been spending in the past on a similar sized and similar scope project. And we figured out that she was about to undercut her budget by half, right? Because we always estimate it's going to take a little less time than it really takes, and it's going to take a little less budget than it really takes. But when we go back to our data, we don't make mistakes. We don't accidentally undercut ourselves from a design fee standpoint and a budget standpoint. So crazy important. So Danielle was nervous to present the numbers, worried her clients would be in total sticker shock. Instead, they were impressed with her clarity and confidence, and they added to the scope of the project. Danielle said, the flat fee calculator just made me an additional $40,000 on my first project after implementation. What do you guys think? Would that be helpful? I want to hear in the chat. Would you like an extra 40K per project? We're working on it, right? We're talking through. All right. What Danielle needed was a better way to handle setting and discussing budgets. She got that and the certainty to present and charge for her services with unwavering confidence. All right, I want you guys to screenshot this if you have the ability, or take a picture of it, whatever. Rock solid pricing on revisions. So this is how we handle revisions within our design agreement. We provide one round of revisions. We ask that you share all of your input at one time so that we can make edits as efficiently as possible. Revisions can add time to the project depending on the scale of the revision. So again, this is one of those really important boundaries, right? When we do flat fee pricing, or we give an estimate of fees up front, because if you don't do flat fee, you're still going to need to give an estimate to verify that they can afford you and that they're on board with that value exchange, that value proposition. So even if you do hourly, you still need to give them an estimate, and you still need to create boundaries related to that estimate, right? Just because you're hourly doesn't mean you can just let the fees run rampant. People still run out of money, right? You still have to have a conversation of approximately what this is going to cost and some boundaries around if it does go over budget, it's because you didn't adhere to the one round of revisions, right? Also, let's be clear. Who wants to be on their like fifth version of a design? There's no way that that design is not getting worse as you go. I always say to a client, this is my first ideal presentation. At my second presentation, my one round of revisions, I'm giving you the alternates and the little, we're making some compromises, we're doing some things, right? But on my third, fourth, fifth round of revisions, now I'm just like, I'm outside of ideal. I'm into second and third variations. Like, we're starting to lose design intent. We're starting to lose excitement. I'm not really feeling it the way that I was feeling round 1 or 2, right? I'm sure you guys have been there. Hit me up in the chat if you love doing revisions, or if you're like, this design is getting watered down and becoming less and less interesting because I'm just pulling it apart time after time. So when you charge for additional revisions, you really help control that. They kind of go, you know what? I'm going to trust you. I'm going to go with your first or second choice. All right, this is another screenshot. Rock solid pricing on scope creep. I love scope creep, and I hope you do too. It's when a current client adds more scope to the project. I think that's wonderful, right? I already have vetted this client. I like this client. We like each other. They like me enough that they're adding scope. It's a win-win-win if you do the following things. Go back and determine the numbers. Go back and set the budget, the design fees, figure that all out again. Prepare another design service agreement that is for this scope and these new fees and this new budget, right? I just have a little addendum to the existing contract. Then sign that design agreement and send the design fee invoice. Confirm payment and signature before you do anything. Duplicate the full service project template. So our full service process that we need to do for any time we add scope. We can't just like jam new scope into a currently moving train, right? We have to take the train all the way back to the station and give that new scope its full due, its full conceptual design, its full detailed design, right? And set up that project so that you're off and running. So the beautiful thing about scope creep is that it really is an addendum project, and it needs to go all the way back to the beginning. It needs to have its own timeline, its own fees, its own budget, and its own process. And then it's a beautiful thing. So once you implement rock solid pricing, your ideal clients will be signing on and raving about you, right? They are going to love knowing exactly what they're getting into financially all the way back at the beginning. You'll be making great money while having excellent relationships with your clients. There's like a side effect of having this conversation really thorough at the front of your, before they're even signing on, right? In the potential client process, having a really thorough conversation about exactly how much everything is going to cost is incredible. And here's why. You're done. That conversation is then over. You've told them what it's going to cost, what it looks like, what are the boundaries. The only way they could have more fees, right, outside of what you've discussed, is if they add scope or they want more revisions than are included. So you're done. You've had the difficult pricing conversation. You do not need to send them invoices, follow up, do accounts receivable, maybe pause the project because they haven't paid you in a timely manner. Have that difficult conversation about, I know we said this was going to be around 100,000, but it's looking like 135. Everybody cool? And they have complete freak out, right? Because you are setting up for success at the beginning, like Danielle did. Instead of thinking it's going to be around 100,000, but it's really 135, you know it's going to be 135 because you have data, right? That's what's so important. But your relationship with your client is just blossoming. All the tough stuff is done. And now you are just providing them gorgeous, incredible design, communicating, enjoying the process. It really is, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, the other wonderful thing about rock solid pricing is you'll go into every single potential client pitch with 100% unwavering, immovable confidence. Okay, you will know that your pricing is just perfect, right? Because it's coming from real data. It's not a guess, it's not a maybe, it's not a I think so, it's coming from data. So when you go in, I love to be in this pricing sweet spot where I won't do it for a penny less, because I know that that's what it's going to take because I have data, and I'm going to take care of my profitability, my team, all the things that come up in the world of design. I won't do it for a penny less. And I don't need to do it for a penny more. There's no gouging. There's no taking advantage of, right? I know exactly where I need to be to make this project sing and profitable for me and take care of my team. when you're in that state, if somebody says, well, can you do it for a little less? No, like just matter of fact, it's just so simple. No, this is exactly what it's going to take to do this project. Are you in or are you out, right? Come on board. We can have this beautiful dance and I can make your home a dream or not. And that's okay too. I'd rather know now than 6 months from now. That make sense? Cool. So the question is, look at my little whale. Are you ready to step into your new reality? You have two options. Number one, you can hire the experts, figure out the formulas, document, review, refine, and revise that pricing and all of that strategy until it's smooth and then implement it. Or number two, you can transform your business by implementing my proven method, all templated and ready to just drop into your firm. You guys hit me up in the chat. Are you a 1 or are you a 2? Are you going to go figure it out? Are you going to just take the template and pop it right in? You can do this on your own, of course, or you can come with me. This is your personal invitation to join me on the fast track. And that fast track is the interior design standard. So let me tell you a little bit about why I created the standard. My business was growing. I had a great team. I moved into an adorable little studio. I was landing projects and getting press, all things going well. And then I hit my own personal business rock bottom. I had 2 or 3 wonderful projects fall apart, one after another after another. And it was all related to the issue of my pricing, right? It was like it was vague or it was unclear, or or they were getting these invoices and it was running up and they hadn't, I mean, right? If you invoice every 2 weeks and you're in the early stages of design, you are spending a lot of time on that project and the client hasn't seen anything yet. And I mean, there were a couple of those where they were just like, we're thousands of dollars into fees and we haven't had a meeting yet. Like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh, just stick with me. We're just 2 weeks out from our great big presentation where we're going to blow your mind. But it was too late. I hadn't set the clarity, the expectations of what this was going to cost, how long it was going to take to get me to the presentation. Like, I just was off the cuff and I was fired 3 times in a row. So it was time to look within. Here I am with Luann Nigera. This is actually us together at this conference. And on the flight home from this conference, I got the phone call from that 3rd client who was like, I just can't. I don't know when the invoices are going to stop. This feels like a runaway train. Thank you for your ideas that you've given us so far. We're going to take it from here. We're going to take it from here as you're fired, right? In design. So I hung up the phone with this client and I was traveling back from this design presentation with Lou. We were heading back in the airport. Am I like talking in circles? I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, I look at Lou and I'm like, I can't even believe it. I just had this client tell me they were going to take it from here. And Luann has done my window treatments for well over a decade at this point. And she's like, isn't that like the 3rd one in a couple of months? Because of course she'd been quoting these jobs. And I'm like, never mind, that one's not going to happen. And I was like, yeah, that's the 3rd one in a row. And she was like, what's going on? Like, what's the common denominator? Like we've been working together for over a decade. Like, I haven't seen anything like this happen. And I was like, it's me. I'm the common denominator. Like, it's me. Oh, no, right? Like, a hot mess. Anyway, by the time I got landed through that flight, we had a lot of conversation, lots going on. And I really needed to go back to me and my processes and how I was doing things and how I was pricing things and make changes. So what I realized was that I clawed my way to this high-end market, right? But my business was not ready for the high-end market. What had worked with the lower and mid-tier clients as I was kind of coming up was not flying with my high-end clients at all. And I had to be honest, like, I considered throwing in the towel. I was at the point with it where I was like, I've made it to where I'm getting these incredible project opportunities, these incredible referrals, but I can't cut it. Like, how's this going to work? Like, I'm not willingly going back to like the little, projects that I was doing before. Like I want to be where I am, but I have to be able, like, I can't sign another client until I fix this. And so I pulled over. My quest began. I pulled over for months to workshop my entire business from top to bottom. Went back to my business process consulting hat, and I decided I was going to fix this. I was going to bring in the experts. I brought in a lawyer, a business consultant, because I knew that I couldn't see it because I was in it too deep, and a mindset coach. I really wanted to make sure that the client experience was always top of mind. So I really worked with a mindset coach to make sure that the entire business methodology was set up to have clients just thrilled with the experience, right? With this, I created a completely new method to run my interior design firm. And my business transformed to joyful and profitable and thriving, to a portfolio full of completed high-end projects, right? I could land them, now I could complete them as well. To referrals filling the pipeline because they were having this incredible experience, and to be able to hand select those projects, right? The more referrals that were coming in, the more I was able to say yes to that one. That sounds really interesting, and those people are really nice. No to that one. This one is trying to tell me how to run my business, that he's going to do it this way, that she's going to do it that way. Red flag, red flag, red flag. No, thank you. Right? Because I had so many referrals coming in, I could hand pick the good ones. That's what I want for you too. So when it was all said and done, I knew I couldn't keep all of this to myself. My design besties wanted to know more, but I couldn't give them little bits and pieces. I tried, trust me, but just giving them the design agreement didn't have the process behind it to actually fulfill all of the expectations that we'd set, right? Just having the process didn't work because we hadn't set the boundaries and expectations up front, or we didn't have the pricing calculator in place to make sure that we had all of this process priced. So it doesn't stand alone, it all threads together, which is why I finally decided to create the standard, which is the entire business model from front to back. And if it's all right with you, I'd love to take a few minutes to share with you just what's inside the standard. Sound good? Okay. The standard will allow you to provide the ultimate clarity with our design agreement. Price your services for profit in minutes before you design anything with our pricing calculator. Scale and delegate when you take each project through one proven process. These are just a few screenshots of the detailed step-by-step processes and templates inside of the standard. Provide an excellent client experience with the refined processes, client-centric mindset, and over 20 expertly crafted email templates. If there's an email that you need to send to a client or contractor or a request for quote that needs to go out, it's templated inside the standard. So I went through all of this so that you don't have to. I spent well over $100,000 and months fixing my business, right? I was hiring all these experts, working with my lawyer, going to conferences, hiring mentors, reading all the books, doing all the things to make sure that I just cracked the code. I have the proven process. I've worked out all the kinks. This is a kink-free situation. All right, not only do you save the time and money that I spent to develop it, you save years of trial and error that I spent kind of ramming my head against the wall, figuring all these things out. There are 6 modules inside. I won't bore you with them, but it's tech, it's pricing, it's potential clients, it's scaling with a really, really streamlined process, improving buying power and trade relationships. Hello, that is what we do here at TDC, and developing your dream team. So that's the HR side. And you get those 6 modules, a $34,000 value. And we're better together. So I added a bonus, which is 3 months inside our members only community. This is an incredible community of designers who are all there to root each other on, help each other, and speak about their businesses apples to apples, because we're all running it the standard way. A $3,000 value. And then I brought in some of the best experts in the industry to share their knowledge Budgeting for Profit with Peter Lang, Mindset Matters with Jordan Gill, Automating for Success with Nicole Heimer, and Closing the Sale with Luann Nigera. A $4,000 value. And because I want you to completely catapult ahead, I added yet another bonus, the Designer's Vault. This is kind of all of the common questions that we've received over the years of working with hundreds of designers. So it is like a little box of jewels for you. It is searchable, easy to navigate. It's an incredible resource, and it's always growing. A $1,500 value. In addition, we wanted to support our designers to the finish line, so we added 3 community calls. This is a time for us to get together, meet one another, talk through issues, answer questions, you know, kind of really cheer each other on to going from the uncertain, kind of off the cuff business to the confident, clear, profitable business that is one that standard members have. And that's a $2,500 value. And then I looked at the tally of all of that pricing after working with some what is it called? Experts in how to price all of this, right? I needed help on how to price it. And I was literally like, what have I done? I could not charge $45,000 for the standard because I knew that this needed to get into the hands of designers just like me when I needed it way back in the beginning of my career. This could not be a premium product for the few. This had to be a grossly underpriced premium product for the many. So I priced the standard at $4,497. So I'm going to ask you again, are you a 1, figure it out on your own, or are you a 2, take the catapult and stream ahead and really get all of this proven method all templated and ready to drop into your firm? All right, now I want to hear from you. Please, any questions, anything that you want to talk through, drop that into the chat. Sarah and Heather are going to pop back on and we're going to curate questions and have a conversation. And while you guys are typing your questions, and again, they can be pricing, they can be just whatever else is going on in your firm right now, whatever it is that you're struggling with. While you guys are popping those into the chat, I'm just going to go through some of our most asked questions. So hopefully you're typing away. So I hear all the time, what if I only need part of the standard? And like I said before, it all threads together. It doesn't, the agreement or the calculator or the processes do not stand alone. They all support one another and they all work together. So it's an all or nothing kind of program. And Melinda Kahn says, at first I jumped right into the standards pricing module, but that was a huge mistake because I didn't have the confidence to back it up. So I took a deep breath and decided right then and there to follow the standard to a T. Once I had the foundation of understanding why it all works together, I was flying, soaring, making money, and no longer stressing about the little things. Will the standard help me get more clients? Yes, right? All those amazing referrals. Tiffany White says, my referrals and repeat clients have doubled since implementing the processes from the standard. Will the standard save me time? Yes. Kristen White says, since beginning the standard, my stress has been cut in half and I can actually focus on designing for my clients and marketing to bring in more work. And lastly, will I make my money back? Yes. Erin Hagergaard, I'm going to screw that, Hageru, says, I recouped the cost of the program with the very first contract I put through the standard system. And Rebecca and Heather had the same thing to say. They literally recouped their investment with the very next project they signed the standard way. So you can reserve your spot inside the standard at interiordesignstandard.com/TDC. Make sure you use that link and let TDC get credit for introducing us. I would really appreciate that. And like I said, reserving your spot is like having your first class ticket confirmed, seat assignment in hand. While we wait for the next session, which is coming up so soon, end of March, you'll also receive inner circle training to prepare you and your business for the mind-blowing upgrades that you are about to experience. All right, and today, when you reserve your spot by March 10th, which is what, end of this week? Yes, you will receive how to always get a Rockstar testimonial bonus. This is an amazing way to make sure that every single time that you complete a project, you also get an amazing testimonial from that project. So that is timely. That is, if you sign up for the standard by March 10th. Okay, let's do some Q&A, shall we?
All right.
And I am going to see if I can stop my share. Huh. Okay.
All right. I promoted Sarah to host so she can see all the things that a host can see, because I apparently am struggling with technology. So let's put it in Sarah's hands.
No
That was
problem at all.
fantastic, by the way, too. I loved every bit of it, and you're absolutely right. You had your business experience, you had an amazing degree from an awesome college for the design part of it. You started to get the clients, and then, like, I think all of us have gone through this. Okay, so why aren't the things happening that are supposed to happen? How am I this busy doing this much work and there's no profit left for me at the end of this job? How is this possible? Or I made $75 on that? Come on. There's so much that goes into running a design business, and the winging it is how I think the majority of designers just function. That is the go-to move.
Yeah.
So,
and not because they want to wing it, but because there's no other plan out there, right?
Yeah.
There hasn't been another way.
Right.
You hopefully learn a lot from the people you work for, and then you go out there and you try your best and you edit as you learn, right?
Yes. Learn the hard way,
yeah.
Which is expensive and long and tedious and sucks all the joy out of it. So I love the standard for this, like, okay, I can just drop this in and I know this is going to be good now.
Yeah.
Fast track.
Thank you. And the Designers Collaborative is such an important piece of this. I didn't dwell on it today because you all are here. You know that your profit margins and your buying power is so important to the profitability of your business. Normally, I would go a little bit further on that, but I'd be preaching to the choir today. So you're in the right place for that.
Yes. Hopefully everybody is really knowing it as they get in here. So, so Sarah, do you see questions?
Yes, I do. Okay, so we will start with this question. I'm just starting out. I have sold renderings for an hourly rate and have done one new construction project, but I was not in control of anything budget related. I was a consultant and don't have pricing data to refer to. So no historical data. What advice would you give to a young designer just starting out?
So the most important thing to do now is to track what you're doing, whatever that looks like, right? So that you are creating data. With every project that you take on, you want to track the following things: total square footage of the project, pull that off your old plans, right? Total spend, go back and look at it when and if you are involved in projects where you are involved with purchasing. Go back and look at the total that was spent, not what you thought you were going to spend, or before you did the final accessories, the total, because you want to start pricing jobs all the way through art and accessories and the plants and the pretty, right? Add in current freight and tax rates, right? You can go back and look at freight. Like you can project freight just like you can project anything else if you have data. So track that, and then track all of your time that you spent on each project, okay? As you go, you're going to start to see this square footage took me this much time and cost this much money, this much tax, this much freight, right? It's so important to start tracking that data. Inside the standard, we also have a full exercise that newbies can go through, basically going through an example project. So take a room in your own house and take the time, make the time. Maybe this is a couple of hours of your weekend for a couple of months, right? And do a sample project, measure up the space, design, track all your time, design the space, go put together a full design of what you would buy. You can actually do it or don't actually do it, right? You're going to have to, if you don't actually execute, you're going to have to project some execution numbers. How long would it take me to place those orders? How long would it take me to be at those deliveries? How long would it take me to zhuzh this all up? But you can get to a really good budget, a really good price per square foot, and a really good execution fee with the exercise. Pick a room and start there. And you really can, you can build on this data over time. And once you start tracking the data, you can break it down by room to really start to see averages. It doesn't have to be full projects. And again, you're going to segment that data. Like if it was a gut renovation versus millwork versus decorating, job, you're really going to make sure that you kind of segment and silo based on the typical projects you do. And that will.
I'm going to throw in there one other thing, Sandra. At TDC, we have in the drive some of those goodies done for you because people are so awesome and they share things. So there are some budgets in there. There are some price comparisons of like all the sofa companies, and so you have some tools just within TDC that you can use if you've never done it before.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I love that. And seeing some of those, a typical room list, a high, a medium, like some of those comparisons, which I know TDC has incredible resources on that, is huge for, an example budget and all of this. So yeah, it is, you may have to do some sample projects to make this, to get going on this, and certainly just start tracking everything.
Great, thank you. Okay, so because we covered so much pricing stuff today, we do have a few other pricing questions. Sandra, how do you ballpark quotes before design work is done from contractor? How do you get ballpark quotes?
Yep. So really it's about, just like working with TDC to make sure that you get the best buying power, you want to start really building relationships with vendors and trades and the people who do your labor and do your construction work. So, and I'm not saying you have to be it has to be just one person, but if you have a handful of people that usually do your construction, your labor, your whatever it is that you do, maybe you're just a big wallpaper person, then that's the person that you need a ballpark quote from. And it's really reaching out to those vendors and saying, and trades, that you need that this is going to become an important part of your business model, that you are going to be needing just a high level. Is this 20 grand or 200,000, right? I don't need you to, there's nothing designed yet, but I need to know if we're putting on a 50 by 100 foot addition with a that needs to be dug out and everything, what are we talking? What are we talking ballpark numbers here? And that's ballpark numbers. That is the most loosey-goosey number in my overall presentation at the potential client point, but it is necessary from a can I afford this project standpoint. And again, I'm looking for, are we talking 5,000 or 50,000? Are we talking 20,000 or 200,000, right? Ballpark. And that one I don't usually put it on my design agreement. It sits on a separate piece of paper. I don't want to legally bound myself to it, but it's important from a can you afford this project standpoint.
Yes, and so a couple follow-up questions on this, and you might have answered them just now, but I'm going to put them out there anyways. How do you estimate the renovation related part of the project up front? We do have historical data. However, we don't feel comfortable giving them a rock solid estimate on that portion of the project because the GC has their own pricing method and can differ from project to project.
Yep. I pull the GC in. I often will introduce them to the client because I'm trying to get, the client, the GC will often be motivated to give me a ballpark because they're going to get to meet this potential client, right? Use the ability that if the client has come to you first, that GC, you're like, hey, I have a potential client on the hook. Will you meet them, sell yourself to them and give me that ballpark? And again, you have to go back to that GC every time and say, I am not looking for you to put, you don't even have to put it in writing. I need to know, is it 20,000, 200,000, right? Ballpark, high level. And especially with the price of things going like wackadoodle right now, they are hesitant to put things in writing. But again, a conversation on the front lawn kind of ballpark is what we need here.
And another question on this. Someone wrote, when you ballpark a range, how wide is that range? I think you might have just said that. Do you find a number and then pad it a certain amount on both sides?
I don't usually give a range because what clients hear is the lowest number and what designers hear is the highest number. So I just pick a number. And sometimes if it feels like really loose, I pick the highest number. Certainly when I get a ballpark on something like window treatments, I always err on the side of the highest number because I know I like fancy things, right? But if it's a wallpaper installation, it is what it is, right? Unless unless it needs sizing and hand cutting and trimming. And then, well, anyway, I tend to go with the highest number of a range when given a range from a labor standpoint, just for safety's sake. And I personally never give a range to a client.
Yes, no, we don't. Okay, so this approach seems completely dependent on data of similar projects, and not only for things that might fall under in your bucket, design related, but also construction related, which is often not under the control umbrella of the designer. Honestly, it feels risky, like we are projecting costs for materials and labor, which we may not have experience with nor control over.
Well, if I would say you're not going to project costs on like the GC's materials, because you're not, like, that's in their ballpark, right? But you will have data on the things that you've provided in the past. So people always say to me, what's in your estimate? Well, what's in your estimate is whatever you typically do. So if you typically buy the plumbing and you do the shower glass and you do the stone, then that's what's in your estimate, because that's what's in your data. If you typically have the contractor do the stone and the shower glass, but you do the plumbing, then that's what's in your estimate, right? It's all about going back to your data. I can say with certainty, I've been doing it this way for, I don't know, almost 10 years. And I've got hundreds of designers doing it this way. It is unbelievable. And I come from a finance major, so like spreadsheets are my friend. It is unbelievable how accurate past data can predict future. It really is. It's a lot less risky than hoping the client has the money, hoping they'll approve the budget, hoping that they won't be mad at you because it's over budget by this, that, or the other thing. When you have data, it is incredibly accurate. I mean, the number of times that I have finished a large renovation, multi-year project, and we go back to what we estimated and what actually happened, and we're like, damn, that is right on. And it's because it's coming from data.
Once we create a proposal or pricing estimate, do you review with us to evaluate our process to see if the pricing is accurate and if the verbiage is good?
We don't get in, like, inside the standard, we are not in like a review kind of environment. Like, we're not reviewing the potential client stuff before it goes out. But I will tell you that inside of our Facebook group, which is private to standard members only, this is a constant conversation. Like, okay, guys, I gotta check my head. I've got a 5,400 square foot renovation top to bottom. This is what my calculator is spitting out. Does that sound reasonable? And blah, 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 blah. Now, the verbiage we give you word for word. You obviously make it your own. You can take it and make it, you know, put your own personality into that and all of that. But there's no, how should I say this? How should I present this? When should I present the numbers? When should I ask for payment? That is all mapped out. It is a template. And then, but that encouragement, that review, that like, I got to go check this numbers with someone, is coming from our community. So we are, I think, 650 members at this time. And we have a really high rate, like 98% of those members are in the Facebook group and very active. It is multiple posts, multiple conversations per day, lots going on. I pop in, answer questions, go live to chat through things that feel like they're timely and weighty. People are sharing resources left and right. I mean, it's a very collaborative community, you know, similar to TDC, but again, really focused on, you know, everyone is kind of running their businesses the standard way. So we are really focused in our business related conversation inside the standard group.
Yes, and we also encourage our members to create accountability groups, and we give directions on how to do that. And we've dropped into some, and it's really just a great way. Like Sandra said, it's like the Facebook group, but even more custom, collaborative. You're meeting via Zoom, you're meeting with designers all over the country or world and comparing notes, but you're all speaking the same language. Like she said, it's all standard related. This designer also wrote, I also find I need guidance with clients who have questions and objections. We talk about this all the time in the Facebook group. This client responded this to, you know, my proposal. What do I say? And, you know, those threads have 15, 20 comments on them. So it really is an awesome community.
Yeah, that is amazing. And then also inside the standard, there are common objections that we've come across over the years. Like, the design looks amazing. I think I'm going to do some of my own purchasing. Like, I feel like I've Tina, a dresser like that at Restoration Hardware, I'm just going to do some of my own purchasing. Like there's a templated email to say, actually, no, you're not. We have a contract, and here's this, that, and the other thing. So, so some of those canned responses exist inside the standard, and a lot of like, you can't have every single response canned, is that conversation in the Facebook group is great.
Someone wrote, preach.
Designer that runs a big accountability group the other day, and she was saying they meet every single Monday for 4 months now, and you know they're moving through the standard and they're moving through the modules. Like there is an agenda, but they also, which we kind of gave them this tip, like they also have like a hair on fire emergency where if anyone in the accountability group has a client situation or a vendor situation or whatever that they need to talk through, then they abort the agenda and they focus on like just workshopping it through. So that is just like lights me up to see that there's designers out there creating these subgroups and supporting each other at this level. So very exciting.
I love this. I love it so much. I have a question. So there one of the slides you said you're going to meet them where they're at. So what I'm hearing from these questions is a lot of the newer designers that don't have tons of the historical data to go back to. Maybe they haven't even had their first real project yet. They've dipped their feet with friends and doesn't feel real yet. You know, there's a point at which we give ourselves permission to say, I am this business owner. This is my client. And there's a point at which we're just like, I'm playing and I'm doing. And, you know, even though those are all legitimate still. So for the newbie, the scaling, wouldn't they be able to take this, kind of skip over all the bumps and hiccups and boo-boos, right? And just plug it in wherever they're at. So they may not be in the like, oh, we're going to put on another 100,000 square feet to your house, or we're knocking this whole thing down and starting over. The scalability, maybe talk to that.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. It's funny, when I first started this, I kind of envisioned like the designer was probably, 3 to 5 years in business, like had enough under their feet that they knew what they were doing to like know they needed the standard. And I was proven completely wrong. We have people inside the standard that are changing careers and know that they wanted a framework to implement from the very beginning. We have people who are 30 years in the business and are using the standards documentation to be able to sell their business. So like the spread of longevity of designers is mind-boggling, as well as tons of solopreneurs, tons of great big firms. Like it has been able to be helpful across the board, which is really has knocked my socks off, because I thought it was like, like I just was envisioning myself like 3 to 5 years into my firm and what that looked like. And it really has been more scalable than that. Certainly the designers who are kind of just getting started, but don't want to make all these expensive mistakes, don't want to wait 10 years to learn all the hard lessons, I hear from designers day in and day out, I can't believe I heard about you in 2020. I can't believe it took me so long to buy it. I could have been making so much more money this whole time, right? Mm-hmm. That is one of our big things. And so the designers who are new, again, we handhold you through an example project. We handhold you through, just how to get your feet wet with this. And then we introduce you to over 600 other designers from around the world, who are from just as new as you to 30-year veterans who embrace you and start to become your mentors, right? Mm-hmm. So it is just this, when we talk about the catapult, the standard alone was a catapult. The community is exponential. It really is.
Love it.
Yeah.
I want to congratulate Brenda. She has reserved her spot from this call. So congrats, Brenda. And also and you'll also be invited to our kickoff call, which we didn't really talk about, but you'll be invited to our kickoff call too, when we open the doors officially. So we're so excited to have you join us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet you. It's going to be great.
We usually have confetti, so apologies, Brenda. We don't have our confetti on hand.
I should throw something, but I don't know.
I know, I could throw paper.
Speaking of, you want me to throw something?
There you go.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
Oh, you're about to have like a whole life-changing business experience. I'm so excited. Can't wait.
Okay. We have one good question about revisions. So regarding the one round of revisions, does this include floor plan and space plan stage in for new construction or remodels? If there is construction, et cetera, do you present the floor plan, all the hard materials and finishes and the furniture at the same time, then do one round of revisions?
Okay, so I'm gonna circle back to one round of revisions. That's so hard for me to say, and yet I say it a lot. So I do a potential client process, then we do some onboarding, then I do a conceptual design process. So conceptual design is getting the layout down, the functionality of the space, a high level floor plan. So like, I know I need a 96-inch sofa and some end tables and 2 lamps, right? Just enough so that I can really like lock down the scope of this project. And I usually have inspiration images and maybe a couple of key pieces picked out at this point, some finishes so that we can just kind of confirm that we're all going in the right direction. Okay, that's conceptual design. So for me, one round of revisions is I'll revise anything once. So that might be the layout, that might be the finishes, that might be the inspiration images, right? So really getting that conceptual design locked down with one round of revisions means when I get to detailed design, which is so much more work and so much more detailed, right? Where I'm picking every single product, pricing everything, the whole deal. I know that the layout has been approved. I know that the concept of where we're going, the colors, the finishes, the inspiration images are locked in before I spend a whole bunch of time in detailed design. So this process, and again, that's step by step laid out in the standard, this process helps you from being like, oh my gosh, I just priced an entire project, all this detailed stuff, and it's all green and the client doesn't like green, which actually happened to me, which is so stupid. I took it all the way there. I got the whole project done based on some painting in the client's house that was bright green. And the client was like, oh, I really don't like green. And I was like, what's with the painting? And they were like, well, it was given to me by someone really special. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I not ask that question? So again, all these years of just stupid mistakes, it's canned, it's all piped in so that you don't end up holding the bag with like, I have to start this project over again. No, because of the way that it's segmented into process in the steps, you are like checking in with the client to get their approval, and then you're checking in again. So that one round revisions, I do whatever you want revised, one round, right? But we won't go back. So in the detailed design presentation, I will not be revising the floor plan. I will not be revising the overall concept. I will not be revising the finishes there. Like anything that was improved in conceptual is not fair game for revision in detailed. Okay. If they wanted to make that level of a change, I would go back and do a scope creep, new design fee and new timeline, because we'd be starting over. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. A designer asks, is there any one-on-one coaching included in the standard, and what is a community call?
Yeah. Okay. So there isn't one-on-one coaching. I'm still running a family and a design firm, and no, there's no time for one-on-one coaching, but there's, again, a ton of collaboration. The community calls are everyone that's in your class. So we have 150 seats each time the standard is launched, right? It's like open. And we're open 2 times per year, coming up end of March. And those 150 people are all invited to this community call. So it's our Zoom. And in that Zoom, we have, shopkeeping, what's going on with the standard. We have Q&A. We have kind of like, I often am giving like tips and tricks on making sure that they're implementing and what they should be doing, and kind of talking through the accountability partnerships and getting to know one another, breakout sessions to make sure that you actually meet some standard members face to face and have a little bit of time with them, so that it's more likely that you find your people inside the standard as well. That 150 going through the program altogether stays in their own Facebook group for the first 4 months?
Yes.
About 4 months, so that they can really, because the conversation is different, right? When you're first diving into a new program, the conversation is, where are you? What's going on? Transitions, changes, right? And then the conversation in the alumni group, the larger group, which we move you into like about 4 months in, that conversation is, again, I'm pitching this to the client issues, right? Now they're using the standard and they're having conversation around that. So in the beginning, you're really tight with your little crew that's going through it. And they kind of become your people as you go through. And again, I can't stress enough getting into an accountability group so that you really meet some people, have, work through the modules, work through implementation, and make it fun and get to know some people.
Yes, definitely. Okay. When you say that the process provides prospects upfront pricing for all the estimates that you, the designer, will provide, but it is a construction heavy project, what do most of your prospects then ask in terms of what the actual overall cost ballpark will be? Then at what phase does all your pricing land? And how do you then present the actual budget?
Okay, so I think we kind of covered this one, right? I am going back to my data for my portion of what the design fee is going to be. What is the things that I sell to you? What is that budget going to be? Freight, tax, etc. I have the contractor give me their ballpark estimate related to the general idea of what we think we're talking about, right? Now, often in big renovations, we're thinking one thing when we first get started, and maybe it morphs, right, as we get into conceptual design. So I will make sure I define that scope in the very beginning. And then if we revise that scope, I may revise budgets and design fees accordingly. So there is, in the contract, there is room for change, right? You're not like, it'll be 50,000 and then you're like, crap, we added a room and now it's not. No, of course, you have room within the agreement to charge it, additional fees, additional budget, and more time for a larger project. So that is all taken care of. As far as, so in the potential client process, I am giving that my design fee is firm. My furnishings estimate is an estimate. And my ballpark numbers from general contractors, laborers, et cetera, are ballpark numbers. Okay. That's all when I first am signing a potential client. Then at conceptual design, I do a line by line by line by line budget where I have done a floor plan. I now know if I'm recommending taking out a wall or not, this, that, the other thing, right? If something materially has changed, we'll have that conversation. Like, this is a shift from what we talked about. You told me you just wanted to renovate the existing footprint, but here, when I got into the floor plan, I'm seeing a lot of value in taking out the wall, right? That's a shift that's so material that I would go back to the budget and say, this is going to be another 20 grand to take out the wall, put in the beam, right? Are we doing it or aren't we? Like, it's just about accountability and always being transparent and having like a really good open conversation with the client. We thought it was going to look like this. There's an opportunity for it to look like this. Do you want to or not, right? If you don't want to, we go back to the footprint, take out the wall, or leave the wall, whatever, and off we go. Okay. So in conceptual is where we firm up scope. I do a line by line by line budget example, and I get an addendum sign off on that budget. So it's been signed off on as a really high level ballpark when they come in as a client. I have them sign it again at conceptual design, right? Then at detailed design, I don't even give them line by line pricing. I price the projects by room. It's like big numbers, right? I don't want to deal with shoppers. I don't want to deal with the shock of how much pillows cost because they make the room often. So I build it all in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I hope that's making sense. I am always looking at conceptual design. I am taking it back to make sure it's on par with what we said at the beginning. At detailed design, I am completely beholden to be on budget. right? I have signed off on this budget. It is my job to be on budget. I do not come into detailed design meetings with $1 over budget. I will not do it. The beautiful thing, it's written in the script, is welcome to detailed design presentation. You don't have to worry about the numbers because we are on budget exactly with what we said we were going to be. Let's focus on the pretty, right? And then when there cannot be a price conversation, the client cannot come back at the end of it's time to buy and say, can you do a little better? No. Can you, I was thinking maybe I need to, I know we said 50, I'm going to do 40. No, we signed off. We sat down, we went through it, right? There is just no wiggle when you get to the end of detailed design and it's time for them to pay. There's no wiggle because you've had the conversation, you've clarified the conversation, you just are putting them in such an empowered place early on where they have all the information. So there's just no reason for there to be that friction when it's time to make the sale, which is like, yay.
And then someone asked a follow-up question, I think, when we were talking about the layout meeting, then the conceptual design meeting, does the client sign off on each step that has been approved?
Yeah, at the end of conceptual design, there's sign off. And that's basically saying like, we're sealing this as decisions. And we're signing off on the budget, but it's really like, you don't sign off until the one round of revisions is complete and everyone's like, yes to this. And then they sign off. Yep.
Exactly. Alrighty. Well, that is all the questions we have for today. I just want to remind everyone that bonus will expire on March 10th. And as Sandra said, we are actually limiting our seating to 150 spots this year. And so I definitely recommend, this is the time of year people start getting like Brenda, she's like, I'm getting in before seats are out. So highly recommend you jump in now and you'll get invited to our kickoff party too. And thank you, Sandra, for your time. And thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. This has been great. I'm so excited. So excited to be with you and to chat all these things.
I'm so excited for Brenda. That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing. I cannot tell you guys enough of how valuable this is. I mean, that price tag to some people could have that shock value, even at as low as it is. But when you think of everything you're going to get and it's done for you in every step of the way, this is saving you tons of money. Sandra, you and I kind of started around the same time, and I had my own journey and my own processes that I learned and how many different coaches that I hired. Seriously, up to 4 now. We're up to 4 different coaches. So, you spend $100,000 on your college degree, and then you spend another 100 on, okay, now I'm actually doing the business, or you spend under 5 and you get, here is how it's actually done. So it's such a great value. It's going to light speed ahead for processing. I mean, there are so many times where I just struggle with like, all right, I got to word this email, or I could go and copy and paste and it's done,
and it's the great part is that email hasn't just been like written by me and I hope it works. It's like written by me for a decade and then used by over 600 designers, right? Like it is so road tested at this point. And the $44.97, the pricing of it, you will spend that in getting one contract really, truly, beautifully hashed out, where it outlines your processes, it has you covered, it clarifies details. Like I definitely spent that much with my lawyer on my contract over the years. This is
an insane value. Absolutely. Yeah. And the bringing balance and joy and profitability, having that firm boundaries and that confidence. Can you put a price on that? I don't think you can. I really don't. It means so much, and it's life-changing. So thank you so much for presenting today. It was an awesome slideshow. I loved all the questions. And I'm excited for people to sign up. So thank you everyone for spending a little afternoon time with us. And I hope you have a fantastic day.
And sorry,
This has been
Heather.
recorded. Oh, sorry, Sarah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
we just have a few more questions in the chat. I just want to
Oh.
cover right before we hop off.
that
So,
okay?
Yeah.
can we repeat what the bonus is and is there a code? So it's the how to get rockstar testimonials, which are so important in this day and age when you're working with clients. Like, how do we get them to help us fill our pipeline, right? So you're not going up and down. So that's what the bonus is. They asked if Heather can post it to the Facebook group. Heather will send you all the info you can send to your group. Absolutely. Where do you go to sign up? interiordesignstandard.com/TDC. Use that TDC link because then we'll know you're a bonus designer and we want to make sure that you get that bonus in your hands. So please use that link. And I just wanted to also say there are we have a lot of standard members join the group. And then everyone's like, what do you guys do to like deepen your discounts or buying groups? And we have all our TDC folk comment and they're like, check out TDC. So there are a lot of standard members in the TDC Facebook group.
Yeah.
Start a discussion, ask them what their experience has been, and get more information that way. So I just want to remind y'all of that too.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah, so this is recorded. I'm going to email everyone who registered with all of the links that we've talked about. So there won't be any guesswork. I will also put it in our private TDC Facebook group. So it'll be there as well. And I think that's it.
Awesome.
Right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.